As production of this R35 series version of the Nissan GTR high-performance sports car draws to a close, we couldn't resist a final last drive in this glorious, highly tuned Nismo version. Here you get a real feeling for just how far Nissan has evolved this design since we first saw it way back in 2007. It remains a supercar for the PlayStation generation, but it's still astonishingly accessible and frighteningly quick.
First, the figures. 62 miles an hour from rest is barbecued in just 2.8 seconds. 100 miles an hour flashes by in around 8 seconds, and if you have an airport runway on hand, you'll hit 196 miles an hour before the electronics prevent you from reaching the magic 200 mile an hour mark. If you need a frame of reference, that's roughly the same as a Ferrari 812 Superfast, a car that costs nearly £100,000 more. That gives you some idea as to the scale of Nissan's achievement in creating this car. Under the bonnet, that thundering 24-valve V6 here generates 600 horsepower, quite a change from when we first tested the standard version of this car a decade ago, which put out just 478 horsepower. Now, as then, it drives all four wheels via a dual-clutch, 6-speed, semi-automatic gearbox with steering wheel paddles for rifle-quick 0.2-second changes. The transmission can adapt itself, depending on your mood, via this dash-mounted toggle switch just in front of the gear lever, with the best all-out driving options being manual for when you're using the paddles and don't want the car kicking down, or better still, R, or race, which lets the engine run to the limiter while firming up the dampers and offering more leeway on the stability control. If you leave it be, the transmission sends 97% of its power to the rear wheels, but within just a tenth of a second, all that can change up to 30% of torque heading frontwards if you're cornering vigorously, so that there's exactly the right amount remaining to light up the rear wheels and slingshot you forward to the next bend. You can understand why at its original launch, this car embarrassed Porsche by lapping their backyard, Germany's Nordschleife Nürburgring racetrack, faster than a 911 Turbo, costing nearly twice as much. Even when you're not on track, the whole experience is addictive in the extreme. And extreme is a word you keep using with reference to this Nissan. No attempt has been made to refine or culture its sensibilities. If a British Touring Car Championship driver were to lend you his race car for a quick blast up your favourite B road, then this, you feel, is the kind of experience that you'd get. A rigid body structure and race-tuned suspension give confidence building stability through quick lateral transitions and high overall cornering speeds. Providing the grip are sticky 20-inch tyres wrapped in smart raised machine-finished forged aluminium wheels. Apart from this Nismo version's extra power in its latest form, and this will be its last form, it features some subtle tweaks, like bespoke Dunlop front tyres and turbochargers taken from the GT3 race car with fewer, thinner vanes. At this level in the GTR range, you also get lighter weight. This Nismo version tips the scales at 1,703 kilograms, plus revised damping and carbon ceramic brakes. Otherwise, it's pretty much the standard GTR recipe. Sony were involved with this Nissan's original development, but at least the steering isn't games console-like. It's quick-witted and communicative, which is useful on tight twisties when you're away from this Nissan's natural habitat of fast-flowing roads. The Brembo brakes are suitably awesome too, stopping this still rather heavy hot rod in just 40.9 meters from 70 miles an hour. In recent years, Nissan has added a special brake booster, which increases the initial braking response by engaging with less pedal stroke, resulting in enhanced stopping power and feel. The ride isn't actually as stiff as I was expecting, and you can tailor its tautness via this dash-mounted switch. There's another button to alter stability and traction settings too. You'd be well advised though to decide on your various drive selections before really starting to flex your right foot, because once you do, your eyes are going to need to be glued on the road ahead if you're to stay out of the hedge and or on the right side of your local magistrate, and that's in the dry. And refinement, well, you can hear, can't you? The thundering engine certainly makes its presence felt, but not to the point where you'd be shy to take this car on a cross-continental journey. But that would be a waste of its talents. It's a supercar accessible to almost anyone, yet rewarding enough for the most demanding enthusiast. It's still an astonishing achievement. There's nothing subtle about this shape. Clearly not Italian, German or American. In every way, the definitive Japanese supercar for the Xbox generation. I mentioned carbon fibre. For the money being asked here, you'd probably want that embellishing the bodywork, creating the kind of look that premium supercar rivals charge extra for. And sure enough, that's what you get. Carbon fibre features for the roof, for the air scoops in the bonnet, and for this deep front spoiler, which features red-themed air intakes either side of this lower grille. The upper grille is flanked by LED headlamps. Let's open the frameless door and take a look in the cabin. Inside, as you'd expect, there's a very driver-orientated environment, and there's more carbon fibre around the centre console and even in the instrument binnacle, where the big rev counter dominates the conventional dial layout near to speedometer rather gloriously calibrated up to 220 miles an hour. Not so impressive is the old-fashioned centre stack screen, which has dated graphics and can also be operated by this rather aftermarket looking lower controller. The rear offers seats that even Nissan admits are best left to kids. And more trunk room too, the 315 litres on offer being nearly 3 times as much as that Porsche. It's a deep boot as well, which makes up for the very high lip you have to lump your stuff over. There are even 6 tie-down points, and there's carbon fibre style trimming for the inner part of the boot lid. You buy a GTR for what it can do, not for what it represents. And in this Nismo form, this 600 horsepower monster of a supercar does incredible things. In short, this remains an exhilarating redefinition of what supercar motoring should be, still priced almost within reach of those who really, really want one. Drive one and you really, really will. Let the badge snobs sneer. Germany has its Porsche 911, the US has the Corvette, but in the GTR, Japan has its own performance legend.